Imagine waking up one morning in medieval Europe and discovering that your future has already been decided. You are not free to choose your profession. You are not free to choose your path. And if you were born into a noble family, there is a good chance your destiny is to become a knight. At first, this may sound exciting. When most people think about knights, they imagine shining armor, powerful horses, heroic battles, and glorious victories. But the reality is very different, because becoming a knight begins long before you ever touch a sword. And it begins with sacrifice. You are only 7 years old when your training starts. At an age when children today are playing games and spending time with their families, you are sent away from home, perhaps forever. Your parents watch as you leave. You may see them again. You may not. From this moment forward, your childhood belongs to someone else. You are sent to live in the household of a more powerful nobleman. There, you become a page. This is the first step toward knighthood, and it is far from glamorous. Your days begin before sunrise. You wake in a cold stone building. There is no heating, no soft mattress, no comfort, only rough blankets and the chill of the medieval morning. You quickly learn that life is built around obedience. You serve meals, you carry messages, you clean equipment, you assist older knights. You learn how to behave around nobles. Every action is observed. Every mistake is remembered. You are expected to become disciplined, strong, respectful, loyal, and above all, useful. Because medieval society is preparing you for one purpose: war. As the years pass, your training becomes more demanding. You are still a child. But childhood is slowly disappearing. Every day introduces new responsibilities. You learn how to ride horses. At first, it seems exciting until you fall. Again and again and again. The ground is hard. The injuries are real. Nobody stops the lesson because you are hurt. You get back up and continue. That is the expectation. Pain is normal. Fear is weakness. And failure is unacceptable. You also begin learning the values of knighthood: honor, courage, loyalty, faith. At least in theory. The stories told by nobles paint a beautiful picture of noble warriors protecting the innocent. But reality is often more complicated. Many knights spend their lives fighting for land, money, power, political disputes. The gap between the ideal knight and the real knight can be enormous. Yet you continue believing. Because you are young, and because the dream of becoming a knight still feels magical. You watch experienced warriors wearing armor. You admire their horses, their weapons, their status. They seem larger than life. What you cannot yet see are the scars hidden beneath their clothing, the broken bones, the nightmares, the years of pain. Those lessons will come later. For now, your world is still one of preparation. Every day brings you one step closer to becoming a squire, one step closer to battle, and one step closer to discovering the brutal truth behind the life of a medieval knight. By the age of 14, your life changes once again. You are no longer a page. You have entered the next stage of your journey. You are now a squire. For years, you dreamed of reaching this moment. You imagined glory, adventure, respect. But the reality is far less exciting. Being a squire means serving a knight directly. You are responsible for nearly everything he needs. You clean his armor. You maintain his weapons. You care for his horses. You help him dress before battle. You carry his equipment wherever he goes. And medieval armor is not light. A full suit of armor can weigh more than 20 kilograms. Imagine carrying pieces of metal for hours while walking through mud, rain, and rough terrain. Your muscles ache constantly. Your hands become covered in cuts and blisters. Yet nobody feels sorry for you, because every knight before you endured the same hardships. This is simply part of the process. The older knights often tell you one thing: a knight is not forged through comfort. A knight is forged through suffering, and every day seems determined to prove them right. Training becomes far more dangerous now. Wooden practice swords are replaced with heavier weapons. Mistakes hurt more. Accidents become common. Broken fingers, bruised ribs, dislocated shoulders, concussions. These injuries are treated as normal. In fact, surviving them is considered part of becoming stronger. There are no modern doctors, no painkillers, no physical therapists. If you are injured, you recover the best you can and return to training, because war will not wait for you, and neither will your future. You begin realizing that knighthood is not about looking impressive. It is about preparing your body to survive violence. And violence is coming. As a squire, you spend countless hours mastering combat. Every movement must become instinct. Every weapon must feel like an extension of your body. You practice sword fighting relentlessly, under the hot sun, in freezing rain, through exhaustion, through pain. You learn how to strike, how to block, how to stay alive. But the sword is only one part of your education. You must also master the horse, because the horse is the knight's greatest weapon. At full speed, a charging warhorse is terrifying. The ground shakes beneath its weight. The noise is deafening. The impact can destroy entire formations. Yet controlling such a powerful animal is difficult. Many squires fall. Some are seriously injured. A few never recover. Still, training continues. Because on a battlefield, hesitation can mean death. You also participate in tournaments and mock battles. These events are meant to prepare you for real combat, but they are far from safe. Weapons may be blunted, armor may offer protection, yet men are still injured, bones still break, people still die. For the first time, you begin understanding an uncomfortable truth. The stories of heroic knights never mention the fear. They never mention the pain. They never mention how terrifying combat truly feels. But the experienced warriors know, and soon enough, you will know too. At last, after years of training, you begin spending more time inside the world you once admired. The castle. From a distance, it looks magnificent. Tall stone walls, massive towers, colorful banners waving in the wind. It appears strong, comfortable, almost magical. But once you live inside its walls, reality quickly replaces fantasy. The first thing you notice is the cold. Stone castles are excellent at keeping enemies out. They are far less effective at keeping warmth in. During winter, the cold creeps into every room, every hallway, every staircase. Even wealthy nobles struggle to stay warm. You sleep beneath heavy blankets, sometimes fully dressed, yet you still wake shivering. The wind whistles through cracks in the walls. Moisture clings to the stone. Fireplaces help, but only slightly. There is no central heating, no insulation, no escape. The cold becomes part of daily life, just like hunger, just like fatigue, just like discomfort. Then there is the smell. Modern movies rarely show this part, but medieval castles are not pleasant places. Animals live nearby. Waste is difficult to remove. People bathe far less frequently than you might expect. Smoke from fireplaces fills the air. Food scraps attract insects. Chamber pots must be emptied manually. The mixture creates an odor that never completely disappears. At first, it is overwhelming. Eventually, you stop noticing it. Not because it improves, because you become accustomed to it. Life inside a castle is not glamorous. It is simply normal for the people who live there. And that normal life is far harsher than most people imagine. Meals are among the highlights of the day. But even here, expectations often clash with reality. Yes, nobles eat better than peasants. There is more meat, more bread, more wine, more variety. But food preservation remains difficult. Fresh food is seasonal. Spoiled food is common. And during difficult years, even castles experience shortages. Banquets happen, but not every day. Most meals are surprisingly simple. Thick bread, stew, cheese, salted meat, ale. The romantic image of endless feasts is largely a myth. Life remains practical, and survival remains uncertain. Religion also dominates daily life. Every aspect of existence is connected to faith. Before meals, before battles, before sleep, people pray constantly. The church shapes how people understand the world. Disease, weather, war, success, failure. Everything is believed to have a spiritual explanation. As a future knight, you are expected to be both warrior and servant of God. You attend religious ceremonies. Confession becomes routine. Priests remind you of your duties, your responsibilities, your sins. Because medieval society believes that the soul is just as important as the sword, perhaps even more important. As night falls, the castle grows quiet. Torches flicker along stone corridors. Guards patrol the walls. The distant sound of wind echoes through the towers. You lie awake beneath rough blankets, thinking about your future, dreaming of glory, dreaming of battle, dreaming of becoming a knight. But outside these walls, wars are brewing. Kings are arguing. Lords are gathering armies. And sooner or later, your training will end. When that day comes, you will discover whether everything you have learned is enough, because the battlefield is the final test. And it is a test many knights never survive. The day finally arrives. For years, you have trained for this moment. You have imagined it countless times. The glory, the honor, the cheers of victory. But as dawn breaks over the battlefield, none of those thoughts matter. Only fear remains. The air feels cold. Thousands of men gather across the landscape. Armor glints beneath the morning sun. Banners wave in the wind. Horses stomp nervously. Some men pray. Others sit in silence. Many try to hide their fear. You try to do the same. But your hands tremble. Your mouth feels dry. Your heart pounds inside your chest, because for the first time, the reality becomes unavoidable. People are going to die today. Perhaps hundreds, perhaps thousands, and one of them might be you. The stories told by minstrels never mention this feeling. They never describe the terror before battle, the uncertainty, the helplessness, the knowledge that everything could end within minutes. Yet every experienced knight knows this feeling well. The brave ones are not fearless. They simply move forward despite their fear. Then the horns sound. The battlefield comes alive. Commands echo through the ranks. Soldiers begin moving. The earth shakes beneath charging horses. The distance between the two armies disappears rapidly. You lower your lance. Your horse accelerates. The wind roars past your helmet. The enemy grows larger, closer, closer. Then impact. Violent, sudden, chaotic. Nothing resembles the orderly battles shown in paintings. Men scream, horses collapse, weapons shatter, mud flies through the air. The battlefield becomes a storm of confusion. You can barely understand what is happening around you. Only one thought remains: survive. Within minutes, the battlefield becomes a nightmare. The smell of sweat mixes with mud and blood. Visibility disappears beneath dust and chaos. Commands are impossible to hear. Friends and enemies blend together. Every direction contains danger. A single mistake can end your life. A missed step, a broken strap, a distracted glance. That is all it takes. You quickly learn that medieval warfare is not heroic. It is exhausting. Armor feels heavier with every passing minute. Breathing becomes difficult. Your arms burn from swinging weapons. Your legs ache from carrying the weight of metal. Even the strongest warriors begin slowing down. Fatigue becomes another enemy, one that never stops attacking. Then come the injuries. Not every wound is immediately fatal. Many are worse. A crushed hand, a shattered knee, a broken jaw, a deep cut that becomes infected days later. Medieval medicine offers little help. Surviving the battle does not guarantee survival afterward. Many knights die days or weeks later, not from the fight itself, but from infection, fever, or complications nobody understands. As the battle finally ends, silence slowly returns. The surviving soldiers look around. The ground is covered with bodies, broken weapons, dead horses, discarded shields. The victory songs never mention this part, the aftermath, the grief, the cost. You stand among the survivors, exhausted, covered in dirt, covered in blood. Perhaps some of it is yours. Perhaps most of it belongs to others. Either way, something has changed. You enter the battlefield dreaming of glory. You leave understanding the truth. Knighthood is not about shining armor. It is about enduring suffering. And this battle is only the beginning. By now, you have survived years of training. You have survived your first battles. You have earned the title of knight. From the outside, it appears you have achieved everything you once dreamed about: respect, status, power, honor. Yet the reality is far more complicated, because nobody talks about what happens after the battles. The scars remain. Not all of them are visible. Some injuries never fully heal. An old wound in your shoulder aches every morning. A damaged knee makes riding painful. Broken fingers no longer move correctly. Your body carries the memory of every campaign, every fall, every sword strike, every mistake. And unlike modern soldiers, you have no retirement plan, no hospital, no rehabilitation. If you can still fight, you fight. If you cannot fight, you become someone else's burden. Many knights spend their later years living with constant pain, a pain they simply learn to endure. Because in the medieval world, suffering is considered part of life. Then there is the financial burden. Most people imagine knights as wealthy warriors. Some certainly are, but many are not. Armor is expensive. Weapons are expensive. Horses are incredibly expensive. Maintaining your equipment costs a fortune. One damaged suit of armor can require months of repairs. One dead warhorse can destroy a knight financially. Some knights spend years trapped in debt, fighting not for glory, but simply to survive. The romantic image of a rich warrior living comfortably in a castle is often an illusion. Many knights are constantly struggling to maintain their status, and one failed campaign can ruin them completely. The life you dreamed about has a price, and that price is far higher than most people realize. As the years pass, your understanding of knighthood changes. When you were a child, you believed knights were heroes, invincible warriors, symbols of courage. Now you know the truth. Knights are simply human beings. They feel fear. They make mistakes. They suffer. They bleed. And eventually, they die. Some die in battle. Some die from infection. Some die from disease. Others survive long enough to grow old. But even those fortunate few carry memories that never disappear. They remembered the faces of fallen friends, the screams of wounded horses, the chaos of battle, the moments when survival depended entirely on luck, because despite all the training, all the armor, and all the preparation, luck often decides who lives and who dies. One evening, years after your first battle, you sit quietly beside a castle wall. The sun slowly disappears beyond the horizon. The world feels calm. For once, you think about the boy who left home at 7 years old. The boy who dreamed of becoming a knight. Would he still choose this life if he knew the truth? Would he willingly accept the pain, the fear, the sacrifice? Perhaps. Or perhaps not. Because the reality of being a medieval knight is very different from the stories. There is honor, but there is also suffering. There is glory, but there is also loss. And there is one final truth that every knight eventually learns. The greatest challenge was never defeating an enemy. It was surviving the life itself. As the sun sets over the castle walls, the world finally grows quiet. The battles are over. The horses rest in their stables. The banners hang motionless in the evening air. And for the first time in many years, there is nothing left to prove. You sit alone and reflect on the journey, from a frightened 7-year-old boy leaving home for the first time, to a page, a squire, a knight. You spent decades chasing an ideal, an image that medieval society celebrated above almost everything else. The noble warrior, the defender of the realm, the hero in shining armor. But now you know the truth. The armor was never truly shining. It was scratched, dented, covered in mud, covered in blood. The victories were never as glorious as the stories claimed, and the defeats were often far more painful than anyone wanted to remember. History remembers the great battles, the famous kings, the legendary heroes, but it rarely remembers the ordinary knights, the thousands of men who trained their entire lives only to die anonymously on a distant battlefield, the men who never became legends, the men who simply disappeared, forgotten by history. And that is perhaps the greatest illusion of all. When we look at medieval knights today, we see adventure, honor, romance. We imagine ourselves riding across the countryside beneath a bright blue sky. We imagine tournaments, castles, glory, but we rarely imagine the cold, the hunger, the infections, the broken bones, the fear that followed every battle, or the simple reality that survival itself was never guaranteed, not even for the strongest warrior, not even for the richest noble, not even for a knight. So, would you have survived? Maybe. If you were lucky, if you were born into the right family, if you survived childhood, if disease spared you, if war spared you, if fate happened to be on your side. But for most people, the answer is probably no, because being a medieval knight was not the fantasy we see in movies. It was a lifetime of discipline, pain, sacrifice, and uncertainty. And that is exactly why you wouldn't survive as a medieval knight